Hello, viewers. Thank you for joining in today. My name is Arun, and you have started watching or listening to the AI with Arun show. So, today we have the pleasure of having Geeta Pyne on our show. Geeta, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. Geeta, so for our viewers, Geeta works with TIAA, and Geeta is a senior managing director and the visionary enterprise architect at TIAA, which is a Fortune 100 financial services powerhouse with a century long legacy of serving the academic, research, medical, and government communities. Geeta herself has a distinguished career of over 30 years, and it's a testament to her expertise and her leadership. Her journey, surprisingly, begins at the Indian Space Research Organization, the ISRO, which is the equivalent of NASA, the Indian equivalent of NASA, and she has then held pivotal roles at renowned enterprises such as VMware, Veritas, Intuit. And now she leads the charge at TIAA, navigating the complexities of a highly regulated industry while ensuring the company's technology infrastructure aligns with the mission of providing retirement solutions, investment solutions, insurance solutions to the diverse clientele. So today we'll delve into Geeta's remarkable career trajectory, her insights in the ever-evolving world of enterprise architecture, how she has been thinking about AI, and how she's been planning to leverage AI, how she leverages AI today, and what she's going to think about the future. So Geeta, thank you again for spending the time with us.
Wow, that was really very humbling, Arun. I couldn't have said anything better, but thank you so much for such a great introduction.
Wonderful. So Geeta, first thing, let's talk about what inspired you, early on from ISRO to where you are today as an enterprise architect. What inspired your journey to becoming an enterprise architect at a leading organization?
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'll say a little bit about ISRO. I think I'm a computer science engineer by education, so I did my engineering in computer science tech, and I think ISRO was. I did not know what is to expect at ISRO, but I think out of all the campus jobs that I got, when I interviewed at ISRO, Arun, like back in the days, like when you are in the room full of like all these scientists, and you are just talking about solving some hard problems, right? That was just amazing. And when I got a ticket to get in an entry in ISRO, I think I would say everybody say like your first job is very important. I think I'm really humbled to say that, I was very fortunate to be working for ISRO, right? So what did I learn? Like lots of things. But I think what really shaped me and what am I doing still is really, how do you really have, solve hard problems, but go back to your first principle thinking, right? Decompose every problem. When somebody says something is too complex, I think like you are not thinking right. And that started like, up in the air with the satellite data you are processing. And, that time we didn't have all these clouds at our disposal. So we had to do really hardcore, software development. So I think my DNA got ingrained with really how do you build software as a fault tolerant, resilient, efficient, all performance software, right? I think secondly, I would say like it is truly a team sport, and which is like, how do you work with all different people? So I got a computer science, so I could write software algorithm. That was my name to fame. But then I was surrounded by, people that are PhD in computer science, like physics, chemistry, math, you name it, right? Electronics. So, and for those kind of missions to be successful, we all had to work together and things had to come together. And I fast forward as I reflect today also, I think so that solving that hard problem, making it the why we are solving it, the mission of the company, and then thirdly, do with technology and people process, I think got ingrained. And I think that's what I have been doing for last 20 years. Some for me, the other to becoming an enterprise architect, to senior enterprise architect, to being the chief architect for this 100 plus legacy company. I think I just love that sound and of that really complex problem. Something when somebody says it's not possible, I just get drawn towards it. And more importantly, it's just not you, right? I can bring the whole organization and influence without authority a lot of times. Architects, I have teams, but they are not like army of engineers that a delivery team will have. So that's kind of I have gotten right from space research to anything in between to now at a retirement. I don't know anything about retirement investment, insurance, wealth management. Hopefully I'm learning little by little, like, as I'm working here.
Wonderful, Geeta. So your whole thing about problem solving, and that is something that took you to where you are, into industries where you have never, sort of understood before, learned before, but then, the ability to problem solve that
Yes.
is helping you in your current role. That's fantastic, Geeta. Geeta, you talked about how you worked with different kinds of PhDs, scientists in your early formative
Yeah.
years. Any mentors that you would highlight who helped shape your thinking?
Oh my God, Arun, like I think I was very, very fortunate. I mean, whether from my little, from family, like, your parents, your brothers, sisters, to, middle school, high school, everywhere, I was always surrounded by really, really good people. That's one of the thing actually I try to do, pay back in my little way a lot in the community. You probably see, outside work, I'll do a lot of things just like what you are doing. So I would say, of course, other than parents, teachers, and all, but from professional careers, but when I came to US, some of the CIOs like Mark Settle, or even my direct managers like Alan Yang, Charlie Bonamo, that I worked with at Arrow Electronics for years. And as a matter of fact, like day before, Alan was in Bay Area, and we were still talking after all these days, right? So I think they found in me what I did not know I was good at, right? Giving me a chance and opportunity. I used to be very, very good at, like, get me the keyboard and I'll solve anything, being a problem solver. But I was thrown in the, in front of people as a very young people, come to the CIO offsite and speak. And I think that helped me to see what else I could do, and I was able to. Even fast forward today, I mean, where I'm like, at this stage of my career, not just doing it, but a lot of, how do I shape the next gen people as well as the industry. So I'm very much plugged into the VC and the startup community. So I have friends and mentors in like Yusuf Khan, Gamiel Grant, like from Mayfield, or other, Ridge Ventures, or even other CIOs around my peers. And I think mentorship is not just senior people. I have a lot of junior, like fresh interns and junior people that I talk to, or even in the academics, like Professor Stuart Evans. I just taught a class last week on, enterprise architecture for next gen CIO in, CMU, into, Silicon Valley campus. So I would say there has been mentors everywhere, every day where I have been, that has helped me, shape me, and got me outside my comfort zone. Like, what you are good at, you will be always good at, right? But I did not know other surrounding areas that I could excel. And you need to be well-rounded to be able to do, become a stronger leader.
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful insight, Geeta. The fact that you said that we are good in one thing that we do, but then how do we teach ourselves to be well-rounded? And
Yes.
that's what steers us for greater success. And I'm so happy that you have been doing so many things outside your core work, right? Teaching younger people and teaching other people to learn from you and mentoring them in various different ways. That's fabulous, Geeta.
Thank you. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
what I strive for. Strive for, like, making a difference and bringing the best out of people. Everything else can be done after that.
Yeah. So, Geeta, what advice would you have for people, for younger people, or even otherwise, people who want to learn from you? What advice would you have for those people?
First thing I always say is grit and hard work never goes away. So there is no shortcut to learning. There is no shortcut to life, right? So first thing is really focus on, and no matter what's happening, do not worry about that. I need to be, I don't like this. Try something and just go deep and be good, really good at it. And I would say, especially, in today's day and age, you and I know that after all these years, also, we are still relevant because we are continuously learning. And I never say no unless I try something, right? So I tell everyone, do not have that preconceived notion that, okay, somebody, I remember like a while back, one of my nephew was saying, oh, I don't like IoT. I said, how do you even know? Have you even done anything, right? Go and try it out. So just try. I tell everyone, just try and just keep learning, and also do not be afraid to kind of go, right and left and up and down. So like your adjacency, start learning. So if you are good in math, don't just stay in the lane, right? Be good at that, but also learn something surrounding it. And I think curiosity and critical thinking are the ones that are going to differentiate anybody. Because if you're good in something and you are good in learning, and you are open to learning and as well as unlearning, right? Because things are changing so fast, you can just hold on to what you learned in the past. And I think you will be okay, survive anywhere. Not just survive, you will thrive in that environment.
Wow. Yeah, curiosity and learning. Yes, that's wonderful, Geeta, because one of the things that people do tend to do is, especially early on, is hold on to something.
Yes.
right? And to your point, how do I unlearn and learn new things? Because you have to be relevant. It's a rapidly changing world.
It's rapidly changing. And also, like, be open, like, and no job is, I tell everybody, like, if you're going to a library and doing every job, there is something to learn. You just have to put your mind to it, and you can learn from everything. So do not think, okay, I don't do this, that does not work for me.
Yep, yep. And Geeta, I can tell you from my own experience that they have, early on in my career when I was like a manager level role, and I would come across certain roles which are not really like a manager type of a role, which are more of maybe slightly junior roles. And when I was offered those roles, I would think that, oh my God, really is it meant for me? But when I would venture in, then I realized there was so much learning that I would have. And
Yeah.
if I had said no to those kinds of roles, imagine the kind of topics that I would just not have the opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
So you are spot on. Never say no.
And I would also say, like, what NVIDIA CEO was saying, like, suffering is great. Like, I believe a lot of us have come through a lot of hardships, and we have understood and learned the value of everything, right? So yes, people need to suffer. People need to put their hard effort.
Yeah, there truly. I mean, there is no learning without the suffering part.
Yes.
So spot on. Great. Great. So Geeta, we'll now, thank you for sharing your personal inspirations, Geeta. So we'll jump on to the second part of the segment. So let's talk about, how are you using AI today? So talk to our viewers about some of the use cases that you have live today, and how are you using AI? So more from the technology side as well as on the AI side.
Yeah. So I would say, as you mentioned, that TIAA is 100+ years old company. So before I say actually what we're doing, I mean, there is this industry like insurance, banking, this kind of industries, are ripe for innovation, right? So the way we are looking at whether it is AI, whether it is machine learning or generative AI, there is so much just even efficiency gain as the opportunity, right? For confidentiality, I would not be able to give you exact specific use cases, but I'll tell you something that we can publicly call out, talk about, right? So our first use case that we went live with, and especially with generative AI, and believe it or not, at our in TIAA, we are more advanced in generative AI than actually AI. And so we started with actually public search, where, like, you are searching for something specific, but we have trained you with our context of the right data. So our search was one of the first thing we offered as a product, which was with generative AI with all evidences, right? Secondly, I would say, like, a lot of, think about security, cyber security, and the vulnerabilities that every day you can actually understand, and you can automate, and you can, even if you not remediate or not, you can take an action. Then looking at technical data, like, what's my current estate? So as a chief architect, I need to understand from business capability to all the way how we run this, enterprise, right? If I could describe that in a way that I can, everything is think about, like, I can describe to a knowledge graph, which means really something, a very highly connected graph I'm working with, prime use cases for automation and insight and generative AI, whether you are generating your architecture diagrams or just understanding meaning of the content, right? Then aggregator, like, there's so many, like, retirement and all these, like, very highly paper intensive, right? There's like pages and pages and pages. So typical, like, very low hanging fruit. Can I aggregate? Can I summarize? Can I make sense? But the key thing around the way we are doing is human in the loop, because you are dealing with somebody's pension money of a very senior citizen, right? So you got to be really careful about what you are recommending. So we have use cases from customer call center to, like, document centric areas to code automation to even internal use cases. But we have been very systematic about, and me being an architect, like, what is our approach for, so that this has to integrate with your existing enterprise. So we are not like greenfield, right? You are a brownfield, company. So as you are building new capabilities, do you have the right data? Do you have the right security? Do you have the right privacy, compliance, regulatory, all this blended together? And then how do you build the software application architecture so that you can, whatever products you're delivering, whether to your customers or your employees, they kind of have all lines of concerns within this coming together, right? So that's how we have been doing, like, technologies. You said both technology and AI use cases. So use cases, we are working with legal risk compliance, and everywhere there's a lot of use cases. but then we are having like, technologically, are we building the right platform? Are we codifying our, responsible AI policies, and then building in a software architecture in a way that they are truly composable? As we know, like, all these models are changing overnight. As you and I talking, somebody is coming with a better model. So how do we make sure that we can build that infrastructure architecture in a way use case people do not have to care about, right? We, the architects and the platform people, hide all those things from the use cases. So we are taking a very pragmatic approach, use case, platform, policies all coming together.
Great. Geeta, so one quick question on the use case by itself, right? So I'm sure your business stakeholders come to you with various kinds of use cases, right? So how do you make a determination of here is what I'm going to prioritize first versus something that you want to push down and maybe
Yeah,
look at?
that's a great question. So we do have our center of excellence that we formed, because this is not a competency that is everywhere, right? But the way we are looking, I would say use cases are coming, but the prioritization framework that typically you would use by whether it is effort to value, right? So typical 2x2 grade. But along with that, there is a renewed focus on return on investment that we are looking at, because we are, as something sounds very interesting, so you might be in the experimentation case, but before you know, the cost goes up. So what we have put is a governance structure around and helping the business to see also the ROI of doing that investment, and is this something? So that's how we are kind of prioritizing. So that is, I would say, use case wide prioritization. Like, is it the right use case? What is the benefit to time to value? Along with that, how much do we have to invest in ROI? At the same time, I think AI, you cannot do AI without the data. So from data side, we started with like, are we training our models with public data before we then private data, but private data without any PII. So we are adding our data. So use cases also, if the use case needs private data with PII, that will be we will take it later, because we want to make sure that we are building all the solid foundations. Does it make sense?
Yeah, totally. And that's a great way, looking at the ROI first. And then there are two things that you spoke about, right? One is the governance part and the security part. And I think in your industry, it's extremely important because, there's a lot of sensitive data you are dealing with. There's a lot of, vulnerable population that you are
Yes,
dealing with, right? And you got to be sensitive to them. I mean, the fact that you have been in the business for 100 plus years, it talks volumes about the importance
exactly.
of these two things. So talk to our viewers about these, Geeta, in particular, security and the governance part.
Yeah, so the way we have been doing is like from very first time before doing is, and I'm talking mostly generative AI first, as I say, when we declared our responsible AI policy, we had everybody kind of together, and that you are like security, risk, compliance, everybody looking at. So we have declared our policies, and technology wise, we have codified that so that it is something that you can live and breathe, and you can have checks and balance and audit trails, right? But for every use cases, and before even Gen AI and AI came in, we have our model risk management, like risk team is upfront involved. So whether it is your model or your somebody else's model, whether you think it is a model or not, doesn't matter. So there is MRM, cases are run, and those are the models are always evaluated for risk, right? So we have a very cross-functional team there. We have representation from our CISO office to our risk, compliance, governance, then architecture, CDIO, security, cyber, all together. And each of us are looking at from the signals of, and we're, some of these things we know today, and things are changing so fast. So having a very good way of constantly watching and monitoring and being able to react. That's why we are a little, sometimes we might feel like, hey, you are risk averse, but we got to be risk averse in that way. We cannot go fast, right? But the key thing I would say, everybody, this is a blessing in disguise. Because everybody wants to have that sprinkle my Gen AI on my use cases. So take that opportunity to get all your stakeholders, including risk compliance, into a governance and give them a seat at the table. So I run architecture governance. I have actually representation from compliance, risk. So they get to see what actually we are delivering and what we are improving. So apart from the cyber and AI use cases, right? I think that's how we are kind of bringing. We are getting mature. My dream would be that everything is codified, but we are also using AI to help us with understanding the posture too, right? So not only you stop AI to do this, I think I would say embrace, but do not open the floodgates. So experiment, learn, and like, crawl, walk, and run before you, and do this. Also, the other thing we also do is we have a very isolated environment from an experimentation first before we merge that into, drop it into our, other production environment. So I think, but you have to try, you have to experiment, you have to play with it, then only you will know what it is not, or what guardrails do you need, what help do you need.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, Geeta, you spoke about responsible AI, and that to me is something very interesting, because until you have the large right framework in place, developers could come in and do everything. Right. For example, in your industry, people of color. How do you treat people of color?
Exactly.
So, what does your responsible AI framework really look at, and how should if I'm a developer, how should I think about responsible AI?
Yeah, so we have done a couple of things. First of all is education. So we have a mandatory training across the company that we all have to take before we start. So we have built our platform called Gate, like generative AI, technology. Is kind of, the name is branded and published. So in order for anybody to be able to have access, you have to first go through the certification of that you have gone through the AI policies, not responsible policy model, risk management and all those trainings, so that at least you are equipped with. Secondly, no matter what you are training with, people will make mistakes. So do you have guardrails? So what is our development environment? What are we allowing? So that's why the data pipeline to codifying, like the policies dropping in and the ID that you are using, they all are under the constraint. I would say it's very similar approach we did at Intuit. Probably Intuit was a little more advanced, where the GenOS and the Gen Studio came up over there. We really focused on building so I would say we want to make the developers aware of, but at the same time we want to make it easy for them, right? So that they don't get blocked by, okay, I have to check all these things. So that's why your core platform engineering team must build those so that they can just plug it in the developer code, right? That's how we are doing it. So anybody wants to bring your model or bring your data in, but then that is within our kind of framework and guardrails, that where we as the senior people are putting those guardrails construct there.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And Geeta, talk to our viewers also about the data part, right? There's a lot of data that's coming in into your systems. And data is at the heart of everything that you're doing. All the models that you're building, right? Whatever that model might be, they all go back to the data. So how do you ensure that the data that you have is clean and it is unbiased?
Yeah, I mean that it's. I think we can never say that everything is data is clean. Then you and I will probably retire one day. So I think you have to first you have to get visibility on what's coming in, right? So again, focusing on that's why I think AI and all actually kind of focusing back to the basics, right? So the way we are doing is, what is the data we have? Is this under governed? What does governance mean, right? So there is a data governance leader that we work with to define those pillars. And again, as you were saying, like we might have data in Salesforce, Workday, or in or custom things that we are building in our products like Data Plus and so on. Everything then we have basically over there, overarching what is our data governance policy, not just the policy again. Whichever tool you are using, can you actually embed that as the data flowing through? Do you have observability on that to measure, right? So what are the metrics that you are measuring, and being able to say whether this is like the completeness of the data or timeliness of the data, or even like your IDs, right? So everything that gets measured and get flashed into the dashboard, right? Nowhere I can say we're there yet, and that is one of the slowest, longest pole, or slows down everything, right? But it is forcing us. So the way I like to tackle is, again, don't try to boil the ocean, right? So this is helping, and so with the data governance, also creating the data products that you can drop in. So focus on, again, like suppose some use cases needs XYZ data. Can we actually focus on getting those data pipelines clean and create the data product that can now unleash several use cases, right? So this is so that's why it bothers me when a lot of people just keep jumping on AI, Gen AI, without going to the data, without going to integration, without thinking through how your modern data stack is evolving as well as your modern app stack is evolving to blend the two.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because data is so foundational. to the stuff that we are
And
trying to do.
real-time data, your operational data, your historical data, everything has to, right? Your analytics data cannot be totally, wild, out in the wild, and versus your real-time, you have to make sure you still have the lineage, right? So there is a fundamentals, I think, are getting really surfaced. So we have seen, great focus on getting some of, make sure that those things are blended, but then do it use case by use case. You can't just wait for every data to be clean, because you will be out of business by then, probably, if you wait forever, right? So kind of take a very pragmatic approach.
That's great. No, pragmatic approach. Yeah, that's the right word to use, especially for data, dealing with data in the kind of scenarios that you're trying to handle.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the next segment of our podcast, which is about the future. All right. And this I also sometimes call as the crystal ball segment. So talk to our viewers about where do you see technology first, right, and then about AI headed in the next, let's say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, this is my opinion. Nobody else says, because I think the rate of which changing, right? I would say technology-wise, of course, I think the convergence. I mean, first of all, at-scale computing we have taken for granted now, right? So I think what we are able to do with the silicon, I think we have pushed the limit right now. So, and I think we are not too worried about, I think it is the word is more, can we manufacture enough chips that we need? I mean, NVIDIA already has, slowed down, which is having an impact. That is a separate problem. But I think compute, then, like, whether it is what excites me in the technology, I would say, Arun, like the quantum computing that we have talked for ages, but now being able to describe really real world hard problems, right? In the truly digital twins of whether it is manufacturing or and in anything we can truly believe, right? I think that's the getting reality. So which means what is in the technology side, I think every industry is getting disrupted, but the ones that used to be slow, like my retirement company, or healthcare, or manufacturing, constant, like real world, like construction was never sexy, but I think those things are truly hyper connected data center that are moving, right? So I think that's the blending of, I see the technology with data and AI use cases kind of transforming all these industries that have been slow in the last decade or so, right? So they are not software industries, right? And I think in the AI world, I believe, and again, I feel like, there will be so many things really commodity, right? Models are commodities, somebody will bring it up. What will differentiate is, I think agents are the way we are going into. I think you and I would love to have an agent sitting with me having this conversation. So I think the agents and multi-agent, but again, then security, privacy, who gets control so that we don't have those, like, if I look at a sci-fi movie, I don't want to be run over by, an agent that without getting like the human intelligence in it. So I think AI world, a lot of this will come, but fundamentally the bigger, all industries will be disrupted regardless of what, but in a good way, that you are now the art of the possible. It is really clear.
And Geeta, would you, while somebody is preparing for, let's say, a new job, it could be an upcoming student or somebody looking for a career change, what kind of advice would you have for them, given where we are headed in the future? And some of the things that you said, right? Around
Yeah.
AI
I think
technology.
one thing would be like, use the AI to do, brush up your skills, right? There is so many things you can much faster you can learn, right? So start, that's just like, whichever industry you're going to interview for, there is enough knowledge out there that you can use actually AI to your benefit to get you prepared, right? That's how I keep learning, right? But at the same time, I would say, when you are applying for the job, that's why don't try to be so fixed with being in one particular lane. So be open to understanding. Do not give, again, I go back to curiosity, and critical thinking and collaboration are the 3 C's that are very, very required, right? So think about that. And most importantly, being able to ask the right question, get very good in, so which goes back to your critical thinking and curiosity, asking the why. We all know the prompt engineering, as good as you and I can get this very different answer depending on what question we ask. So I would ask that, whatever you have studied, be very good at that. Go into a very open mind. In any industry, I think you can thrive. But in order to learn enough, use AI agent to come prepare for it. and then be open to just discovering what the needs are, and just get yourself, put yourself in the land of opportunities. Do not, whatever comes, be it a business analyst, be it a technical analyst, don't worry, oh, I just want to be a data scientist. Don't worry. If somebody gives you a data quality job, grab it.
Yeah, and you have mind, the three C's: curiosity, collaboration, critical thinking. Not in any order, but those would help people achieve greater success in whatever they choose to do.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be a brilliant jerk in anywhere. So no matter how smart you are, you have to be in the team.
Yeah. I mean, these are all team sports, right? I mean, you can't be
Exactly.
doing something on your own in your own jungle. Yeah. All right, that's wonderful, Gita. So we now come to the fourth segment, and this is a rapid fire round where I
Okay.
ask you a question. So are you all set? All right. So here is my first question for you in the rapid fire round for you. So ChatGPT or Google Gemini? If you had to choose one of the tools for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
ChatGPT.
Okay. What is the most overrated AI trend right now?
Generative AI.
All right. In one sentence, how do you define the future of AI in your field?
AI enterprise architect, like an architect agent. I don't know, sentence. I'm talking my field as the enterprise architecture. Everything will be AI driven. It will be a multiplier AI driven enterprise architecture. You will be able to do so much more automation. You will be able to do so much of knowledge generation. You'll be able to do create all the knowledge graph and the knowledge management through AI for enterprise architecture, and see completely a digital twin truly for without creating everything like replicating. You can have a digital twin for your company.
Right. Wonderful. The next one. What is the one AI skill that everyone should learn today to be prepared for tomorrow?
I don't know that, but I would say again, asking the right question. Whether you call it, prompting, or I think that everybody must know how to ask the right question.
Yeah, that goes back to your curiosity and critical thinking, I
Because
guess.
AI is as good as garbage in, garbage out, like the data, same thing. I was actually digressing, but at this today we were doing something and I was keeping asking my team hey, use Copilot. 3 people came back with 3 different answers. So it depends on what they asked, right? So for the very topic. So yeah, so get very good in asking the question and prompting in the right way.
All right. And the last one. If AI could take over one of your daily tasks completely, what would it be?
I think a lot of my meetings, organizing, attend my meetings, take notes, come back and help me with decision making. I'm tired of all day meetings a day.
All right. Wonderful. Wonderful, Gina. So that was the last one that we had. So, and that also brings us toward the end of our session. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We truly appreciate it. Your time.
Thank you so much, Arun. It was really fun to see you after almost a decade.
Wonderful, Gita. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah.